Today is the day, episode 85. Cary, this is the one you've been waiting for. This is 55 and 5. We did 5-minute history
Why
lessons.
have I been waiting for this one?
You've been saying we want the little people. We want the little people. We want the small athletes.
I knew there were a few small athletes in the set.
Yes.
We've been waiting 84 episodes, and I know there's more than one card, so I'd be excited to see this.
Well, by luck of the draw, I promise I'm not holding out Buddy Rogers for 121. Maybe I am. Maybe that'll be the grand finale. But by luck of the draw, this is where we're at today. It's the 55 Parkhurst set. I set a timer for 5 minutes. We talk about the guys on the card, learn a little bit about them with you. But today is the day we're going to talk about one of Bushwhacker Luke's great friends. We're going to show him prominently here. And there are two little people here. Back in their time, they were called midgets. We believe that to be an inappropriate term right now, although Hornswoggle prefers that nomenclature when referring to small wrestlers. So we apologize in advance for trying to use the best terminology we can. But Cary, what can you tell us? And I'm going to do it. So this is a double episode. I'm going to give us 10 minutes today, if we need it, to talk about Selassi, who's the African-American gentleman, and Little Beaver.
Well, we don't need 10 minutes, but because the great Selassi.
Yes.
I've never even heard of him.
Do you recognize the name Brown Panther?
Yes.
Okay, that's Selassi, also known as Black Panther, and Little Bobo. So Little Bobo Brazil. And he also went by Bobo Johnson, had a number of names. Yeah.
But Little Beaver, one of the biggest of the midget stars, because I'm sorry, but that's what they used to call them back then. So I got used to that. And our good friend Bushwhacker Luke, who I just saw a couple of weeks ago in Tampa, when the sheep herders, not the bushwhackers, in the early 70s, they couldn't get a visa for the U.S. They were over in Australia with Jim Barnett, but they were able to go to Canada. So when he went to Canada for Grand Prix Wrestling, Little Beaver, for some reason, our listeners and our viewers are going to find this odd, but French, the French-Canadian Quebec province seems to be a hotbed of little people.
Yeah, and we talked about even Northern Ontario. Northern Ontario had a whole promotion.
Right.
Where Casa, the name will come to me, but Kasaboski ran cards up there with just exclusively little athletes. Yeah.
So Little Beaver, Fuzzy Cupid, Sky Lolo, Haile Selassie.
Yeah.
And many others. But yeah, this is from 54, 55.
Yeah.
Luke knew Beaver and Lolo. And they would usually do tag team matches.
Yeah. So I have 73 instances of them either teaming together or fighting each other. And that's just what we have recorded. And they're all tag team matches.
And according to Luke, most of the midget wrestlers, many of them, were gay.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And they were wild.
Really?
They were wild.
Wow.
They'd be driving these long rides, leaving Montreal to ride 250 miles to some small town in northern Quebec, and then back, and this is when Andre the Giant Ferry first came over to Montreal, and Luke, it was Frank Valois.
Done an episode on him.
And Andre, because it was his translator. And then Butch and Luke would be in the van. And Lolo and Beaver would be in the van.
Oh, wow.
And Andre, for some reason, they sold beers. We're used to a 24-ounce case. They were in 36s.
Wow.
So Frank Valois, Andre the Giant, and Little Beaver and Sky Lolo would each get their own case.
Wow.
Yeah. which led to a lot of road stops, like we had during last stop Penn Station, because they'd have to stop and take a leak.
Right.
And Andre would get really upset if they ran out.
Oh, wow.
So they happened to find some little gas station that sold beer. But yeah, Little Beaver, man. They would bring him to the garden, him and Sky Lolo. Once again, they were always in a tag team match. And these guys worked the whole country, both countries, around the world. You know, it was like, bring the children to see this attraction.
Yeah.
There was comedy. There were great athletes. And they were strong.
Yeah.
And this was there's some good video of Beaver and Lolo and Cupid.
There is. There's a lot of it, especially they were in WWF 76, 77, 78, 82. They were on some of the rare instances of them being on TV in WWF in 82.
Beaver wrestled well into the 70s.
He wrestled all the way through 87. His final match was at WrestleMania 3.
Really?
Teaming with Hillbilly Jim. In the match where Hillbilly Jim had 2 little guys and King Kong Bundy had 2. And it was the
Haiti Kid must have been.
Yeah, he was. Yep. And it was a 6-man tag match. And that was actually his final match because
that shows you how they might have been doing that for a favor to him. As like, you know, to cap your career off. But when did he start?
He started in 1949. Almost a 40-year career.
Wow.
38 years. He's generally credited with inventing the structure of the modern small guy match, where it's a little bit of comedy, it's a little bit of goofing around, and he's credited with inventing kind of the structure and really being that kind of created. He's a 2-time world midget champion. So back when they had such a thing.
Never knew they had a title.
Yeah, they would occasionally bring it in and do that. Multi-time Pro Wrestling Illustrated Midget Wrestler of the Year. So he won that accolade. Professional Wrestling Hall of Famer, as he should be. One of the great innovators. And he and Bundy had some beef.
Really?
He said Bundy, he's essentially ruined his back, or else he would have kept going.
Oh.
Yeah. He said Bundy, the famous call by Bob Uecker, King Kong Bundy just splattered some beaver all across the ring.
I'll have to go back and watch that.
Yeah. And that's allegedly.
So is that the same WrestleMania as the Andre?
It was. So what an attraction.
Match?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. What a loaded card.
Well, it's very cool they brought Little Beaver. And you got anything about Bobo Johnson or Selassi?
Yeah. Selassi, 1945 to 1985. So he had a 40-year career. So if you were good at this, you could go around the circuit. And the big things with him, he teamed with Little Louie and Cowboy Colt. They were big tag team partners for him. Feuded with Billy the Kid. So there's 53 instances of them fighting one another. I could find.
Cowboy Lang.
He wasn't mentioned in the orbit, but I'm sure if we looked it up, I'm sure they crossed paths. With these the little folks, there's only a handful at any given time. They're big attractions though.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they would normally be second from the top.
Right, and if they would go to these territories, they'd go into let's say Florida. Mm-hmm. They'd work a week, these towns, and they moved to Georgia.
Yeah.
So they were in demand.
Yeah.
But Montreal was the epicenter.
Right. And I was quite shocked to find out in Ottawa and Montreal and Northern Ontario, Northern Quebec, that there was towns that ran just based on little guys.
I wish they would have films of that.
Yeah.
And if you look at the Madison Square Garden, the history books, there was basically a tag team match with the little folk on every card.
Yeah.
In the 60s into the 70s.
I was going to say, even in the 70s, especially Little Beaver had all kinds of results. 72, 76, 77, just bam, 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 bam. So, what a great career for Little Beaver. A very accomplished one for Selassi, or also known as the Brown Panther, Black Panther, Little Bobo Johnson, you name it. And Cary, this was the one you've been waiting for.
Thank you.
Yeah. So
thank you. We raise just like
yes, we raised the hands in celebration and celebrating 2 good careers. They were already 10 years in at this point. That's amazing.
Seriously, almost 80 years of action.
Amazing.
You got to be doing something right.
Right. To do anything at the high levels they were doing, incredible. So, and what's incredible is we are at 85, which means next week we'll hit 90, which means we will be 75% through the set. If this is your first episode, we thank you for joining us for the first time. If you've been on with us through all 75 or 85, geez, we appreciate you. And we hope you will join us next Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern. That's when these go live on YouTube every weekday for 55and5.com. Happy wrestling, everybody.